I thought a lot of young guys rose to the occasion. Our coverage units are continuing to step up. We got some young guys. Bryce Oliver continues to show up on the punt team at gunner. Cedric Gray and James Williams have done a good job for us. With that being said, we got a big challenge this week going against Cincinnati, a team that both Callie and I are familiar with. They've historically had a good special teams unit, and the coach over there, Darren Simmons, and I have worked together the last 4 years, and so looking forward to seeing a bunch of guys, and know we're going to have our hands full.
Now that you kind of fixed the holes of what was ailing this unit on coverages and punt protection and things like that, what is the next step for this unit to make a big play somewhere, with a punt block, with a big return or something like that?
Yeah, it's just a mindset. Special teams is a mindset. Just making sure guys trust, the guy next to them. They trust, me putting them in the position to make those plays. And I think guys are, continuing to get better and, playing with more intensity, playing with a more physical nature. But yeah, at some point we need to make a play too. But we got to be opportunistic. At the end of the game there, James Williams comes close to blocking that kick, and we had an opportunity to affect the game in a positive manner. So, with that being said, we're not going to go reach in and try to make something happen and put our team in jeopardy. But we'll be smart.
How much you've talked, I guess, to Nick? How much you monitoring him, and what did you tell Braden when he got in here?
I just told Braden to be ready to go. We'll see how Nick does. Nick's a pro. He's going to be up front with us. If he can go, he can go. If not, we got Brandon, a guy that we feel comfortable with, and he's confident. We're confident in his ability, and he's confident in his ability. So if that's something we got to do, it's what we got to do.
Nick's certainly been in the middle of it. Why do you think field goal kicking league-wide for a good stretch now has been on such an incline in terms of percentage made?
I think kickers are just getting better. They're getting stronger, just like punters. It's pretty remarkable the numbers these guys are putting up. But just getting better, and it's amazing, specifically what Nick's done, and really has done his whole career.
Do you think this? I know it's not a big feature of the week or anything like that, but at some level for Brian, obviously means something going against Zach and the people who gave him such an opportunity. What do you think that means to him?
He's known Zach for a long time, and all those people. And I think when you go through, 5 or 6 seasons there, I think there's just so much history, and it's always more meaningful, and you always want to play well against people you know really well, and you want to have a good showing. And I think it's important to him. And we've talked about it as a team a little bit and as an offense of, hey, these are important to him and Tyler Boyd and even Stanley Morgan and Trevor Simeon was there for a little bit. So guys that have been there, but for Brian especially, I think it's always important to try to put your best foot forward against some people that gave you a great chance, and he really wants to show well.
How have you done as far as staying the course? Obviously this season is not what you guys started with.
Who, Brian?
Yes, oh. Brian Callahan. It's just as far as keeping his eyes on the mission and making sure that goal is clear to everyone else.
Yeah, he's done a great job of really not going with the ups and downs, right? We've certainly had some downs and some really disappointing moments, and I think his leadership is really kind of why you still feel guys or the energy's good and those kind of things. That all comes from him. He's done a great job of really staying the course, having perspective on what's happened, and still being, frustrated and demanding of guys and things like that. But he's also kind of sees the bigger picture and always kind of takes a step back afterwards and does a really good job kind of resetting, especially on Mondays, of here's what happened, here's what we thought was going to happen, here's where the disconnect is, let's reset, refocus, and kind of go from there.
Along those lines of, seeing the bigger picture, what parts of what you see from Will kind of validates that he's growing, even when you don't see it translate all the time in wins and losses? Absolutely. Or even or plays made? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You see Will, and even there's a calmness to what he's played with compared to earlier in the season. So, we've had some clips we showed of him earlier in the season in the pocket, and even right after he came back from the injury of kind of his feet and kind of where his eyes were and things like that. And you watched last week, other than, a handful of plays where we missed it, you saw kind of he's there to 1, to 2, to 3, going through it, less frantic in the pocket, less running into sacks. So those things, there's a lot of progress there, and he's really taking care of the ball well, or much better than he did before. So those things have all been really good progress for him. And I think he's kind of passing the ball better and not really just forcing it to guys. I think a lot of times earlier in the season, we made some mistakes of, okay, we think this is going to be here, this is that, and he really locking him in on things. And I think he's now seeing the bigger picture better for the most part.
Evaluate him after Sunday when he didn't make mistakes but didn't get in the end zone either.
Yeah, I think he was offensively, we were all as frustrated. I think we left that game going, I can't believe we played that way, or I can't believe we left all those points out there on the field. It was, Will was disappointed. You kind of walked in that locker room and it was like, how did we just do that? You know what I mean? Offensively, to score 6 points and do those kind of things. So, I started go again. Sorry.
I said, how could maybe evaluate them when you didn't make mistakes, but you obviously, like you said, you
But
didn't
then
score.
you kind of come back here on Monday and you see so many good things that he did do well. You know what I mean? He handled some protection. The one thing he's really grown in is protections. And so they were giving us some kind of different fronts and different looks. And he was really kind of getting up there and handling the protection, moving the points, things like that, which is a really good growth for him. And then he had some really nice throws in there. That deep cross to Calvin in the fourth quarter that started that drive that got down to the red zone. He really played well in those parts. So just kind of touch and go a little bit.
This week for him to get the ball out quickly and receivers to get to spots with a guy like Hendrickson on the other side there.
Yeah, Hendrickson's the way he's rushing is pretty impressive. Now we face some good rushers too, and we've had a plan for them, but Hendrickson's always going to be on the left, so it's really big, or most part on our left, so it's really big week for JC. JC's, we've been helping the right side, and everybody's been talking about the right side so much, and now JC's, kind of had the last couple of weeks where it's been a little up and down, so this is a really big challenge for him and for our offense. So we got a plan, for Hendrickson, but, they also got other guys that can rush too. Hubbard can rush, and they've got some power players there, so it's a very much a challenge for us protection-wise and in the passing game.
We talked yesterday about needing to be process-oriented instead of results-oriented, but with a quarterback that has such a competitive streak to him like Will does, how do you as a coach, handle trying to keep him process-focused rather than points or win-loss focused?
Yeah, it's hard in the season, very much so, to keep kind of that process. Okay, I did this right, but I didn't get the results I wanted. In the red zone and those kind of things where we missed those throws, it is hard. But I think if you just keep showing the tape, you keep showing them where the things are getting better and that those things are so close to clicking that you feel good about it and you kind of, really have faith in what we're doing.
Brian talked about Otis and Luke. How did you like how the inside backers did Sunday?
Oh, I think they played extremely well. They was presented with an opportunity to go out there and play. I think Luke did a great job of managing the game, communicating, get guys lined up. He was where he was supposed to be, played downhill in the run game. And then Otis as well. Otis was productive. I think he had 7 sacks. He ended up getting an interception. He did a lot of really good things in the game, and proud of both of the young men because they were given the opportunity and took advantage of it.
Overall, how do you kind of monitor the pace of growth of the unit when you connect it to results?
Yeah, obviously what we do in anything in life is results driven. But when you peel back the onion and you see how the season has gone with the numerous injuries we've had of guys that were here to produce at a high level, losing 2 linebackers early in the year, and then you see the development of Tavondre Sweat, you see the development of DJ, you see the development of Jarvis, and the list goes on. When you look at it, like I say, you're building something going forward that's sustainable. And obviously, as the season goes and years go, you add on to the pieces that you have. But we have some players that are there to build depth and players that's there to develop into starters. So from a big picture standpoint, even though the results aren't what you're looking for, we'll be better off from this season going forward.
With Jarvis and the physicality that he plays with, obviously something that you like in your defense, but it's also resulted in a lot of penalties for him. Working on hand placement and different things like that, is that something that just needs to click with him, or will that get better in your eyes with more football?
I think it'll get better in time, but it's what you drill, it's what you think about, it's how intentional you are doing it. He's actually gotten better. I mean, if you look at the game last week, I don't think we had a defensive penalty. So it's about him challenging and understanding that. And then when you look at him, he's been challenging some of the best receivers in the National Football League. And against some of those penalties, he's being aggressive against them. And he's doing what we ask him at times to go beat guys up, right? Because a lot of guys don't like getting hit in the mouth, all right? But now he'll clean it up. He'll get better from it. And I think he's conscious about the penalties more and more, especially as we stress him.
Chase, obviously, on a heck of a roll right now. What do you preach to your guys about trying to maybe limit their big plays against you guys?
Discipline. When you look at this team and you look at Joe Burrow, it's probably, you can argue he's probably the best quarterback in the National Football League, one of three or whatever it may be. He knows where to go with the ball, okay? He's pinpoint accurate. But the one thing that you see, and we have to be disciplined against these guys, is when he extend plays. When he extend plays, all the receivers, all the running backs, they find open windows. And off of those open windows, if he gets the ball out, they create explosives. So our biggest thing is about being disciplined, trying to understand big picture concept of what they're doing in the pass game, and then being sticky at the top of the routes and challenging them. It goes back to it, just like any other good receiver or tandem we played with a good quarterback. You can't play with fear, and you have to attack them because they're going to attack you.
Back on Jarvis and his situation for a minute. When a guy gets a little bit of a reputation for being handsy and gets several calls made against him, and sort of, I guess, whenever there's something questionable, the flag comes out sometimes. How do you go about teaching him the mindset of trying to shed that reputation without losing his aggressiveness?
He's not going to lose his aggressiveness. Like I say, it's all about technique. And I discipline him being conscious of the penalties. He has a reputation. That's just like before any game, the head coaches talk to the referees about guys that have penalties or do certain things. And I think he does have a reputation right now. But like I said, you know better than your last opportunity. And the last opportunity he went out there, he didn't have any penalties.
With Brian's knowledge of Cincinnati's offensive scheme as well as Joe Burrow, is this a week where you pick his brain a little bit more and try and bring him into the defensive fold?
We've talked about how they're trying to attack, the matchups that they try to have from a scheme standpoint, what they do, and obviously Brian coming over here and being the head coach and the offensive coordinator, the scheme is very similar in certain aspects. So a lot of things we saw in training camp, the players change, right? And you have, arguably one of the top tier quarterbacks in the National Football League. So that makes it a little bit, different and difficult. But yeah, we've communicated about, how they try to attack, what they're trying to do. And, we have a game plan and we're going to put it out there and we're going to try to go execute that game plan and get a win.
Jarvis said Cheeto has talked a lot about the matchup this week,
Yeah.
and he said they kind of want to do it for Cheeto in a sense in the DB room. What effect do you think that could have on that unit?
Well, you know what? I'm proud of that unit, period. Like, if you look at the guys that have played in the secondary, it no matter who has gone out there, they've had production, they've played well, and they've played together. Cheeto came back. It was a big game for him to come back last week, going through the injuries and things and the high expectations that he had for himself and we had as an organization. And he came out there and he produced. And him going back to a place that he once played, that they didn't re-sign him there and he ended up coming here, they want to fight for him. They want to play for him. And he wants the game. He knows the players well. He's gone against them, competed against them one-on-one and things of that nature. And like you talk about with Jarvis, with Hook, those guys, they're not afraid of anything. So they're going to attack the day, attack the challenge, and they're going to try to put their best foot forward. And we're going to deal with the results as they come. But they're not going to shy away from the competition.